Hi, hello. This is the first presentation in the first unit. So it's nice to see you here. I'm glad you're starting off, and let's start the first presentation. But before we can start talking about management and discussing what it's all about, remember you have to start with a task. And that means making an interview with someone who has experience in management. Please click on the task 1 in unit 1 and go through all the steps explained to you and depicted on this slide and in the explanation of the task. Once you've done that, please come back to this presentation and we can go on. It's very important that you do your interview first and make notes from your interview into your notebook. Thank you and see you soon. The textbook we are using are Ricky Griffin Management Textbook. It's a great textbook and we're using the 12th edition, which is quite current. It includes a lot of interesting examples and I hope you will find it informative. Because we don't have enough copies for everyone, what we did is we did an outtake of the book and photocopied all the parts of the book that you will need throughout the course. These have been handed by me to you. If you still don't have the book, please make sure you contact me or your teammates and get a copy. Thank you. The first unit is a very general unit just to get a general idea of what management is. And to know if you've done your job during the task and the interview, you have to be able to come up with your own personal explanation based on everything your respondent told you about management and explain what management is to a 5-year-old. The book will walk you through several aspects of management. The most important theme that I emphasize is grasping the idea that management is composed of 4 general functions. And you will find those in your book. And also, we will talk a little bit in this presentation, and the book also talks about the place where management happens, and these are organizations. So let's start talking about these issues now. Modern day management dates back to about break of the century and advanced industrialization of the Western countries. And the first man that we need to remember about, the forefather of management, is a French industrialist and writer, Henri Fayol, who we consider as the starting point of management. Now, he conceptualized many things, among which the functions of management still prevail today. His book was published in the 20s in French, but it did not reach a wider English-speaking audience until the 30s after his death. Now, Fayol conceptualized 5 functions of management. He declared that everything in management starts with planning, then organizing all the resources and assigning the tasks, commanding people what they need to do, ordering them what needs to be done, coordinating all their activities and controlling if things are moving smoothly. Along the years and decades, this model has been simplified only to 4 functions. Probably the word commanding did not sound as user-friendly as Henri Fayol thought in his age. So now we only consider, and all management textbooks talk about simply 4 functions of management. So the book talks about 4 functions of management: planning, organizing, leading and motivating, and controlling. These are described on page 9, so please read it thoroughly to understand. I think it really makes sense that first you need to plan everything, what needs to be done. We don't want to act spontaneously and in chaos. Things need to be organized, who and what needs to be done. And then the role of the manager is to lead these activities and motivate people through their actions. Of course, controlling is absolutely indispensable. Without controlling the effects and the work as you go along, nothing really can happen. And there are various models of controlling. So please remember these 4 basic functions. I will be asking you in class about these 4 functions continuously. So let's take a minute now to think, where does management happen? I guess you can say it happens anywhere. A lot of management happens in families. When you conduct a project, you're organizing something for other people. You do need to manage your time, your resources, and other people as well, of course, through delegating tasks to them. But in management textbooks, we definitely focus on a professional aspect of management, and that happens in organizations. Now, what are organizations, right? A very, very broad term. And basically, we can say it's any group of people working together and pursuing common goals. Those, of course, take formal forms, such as universities, schools, hospitals, your local bakery, florist, factories, offices, hospitals, and so on. If you want to read a little more about this and get an in-depth analytical view of what organizations are, I really recommend this book. I found it very interesting. It was written in the 80s by the person you see right there, Professor Garrett Morgan from Toronto, Canada. And the book is, the title of the book is Images of the Organization. If you can have the time, please take this book out of the library, scroll through it. It's really a great read because he compares organizations to numerous things. Some organizations can be compared to plants, organic organizations. Some of them can be compared to machines, brains, even prisons. So this is a book that gives you a very reflective view of what organizations today, contemporary organizations, can become depending on what model of management they introduce. The broadest definition, the most inclusive and holistic of what organizations are, probably comes down to the fact that they are systems. A system is a larger whole composed of smaller parts that are all incorporated in this larger whole and dependent upon each other. We say that organizations are open systems. Just like our organisms, they need resources and fuel to survive. So organizations take in various resources. The people who work in organizations constitute its human resources. But of course, every organization has its physical resources. Even if it's a virtual organization, it does need a server, for example, to function. Financial resources are very important. And then probably a group that is growing in meaning and importance are non-tangible resources. This is everything that you cannot touch and take into your hand. It is knowledge, it is social capital, it is know-how, it is everything, ideas, everything that brings value to the organization and is not physical or financial. Okay, so all of these resources are taken into the system and transformed. And this transformation happens through a set of coordinated tasks, which is management. It has its procedures, programs, plans, and the 4 functions that we talked about. It includes planning, organizing, leading, and controlling. Now there's an output. All organizations provide us with goods and services, depending, of course, whether it's a hospital, school, a company, a small bakery, whatever, but there are always some goods and services. Some of them are tangible. You can touch them, you can take them, you can look at them, you can use them, but a lot of the outputs of organizations are intangible, and those can create a very, very high margin value added. A lot of organizations simply function to provide knowledge, information, and ideas. And those make a lot of money today. We call it the creative sector. This sector is growing in importance in almost every developed economy very, very quickly. Okay, so take a look. The Organizations as Open Systems model is in your book on page 8. It's figure 1.1. So please read it carefully and think about it. Now, in every organization, there is some kind of hierarchy. There are people who make decisions and there are people who need to follow these decisions. This is a very general picture model of organization as a hierarchy. Usually it is portrayed for a number of decades now in the form of a pyramid, which is not always the case because we have a lot of flat organizations that maybe resemble more like a pizza than a triangular pyramid. This figure 1.3 is in your textbook on page 13. Now, at the very top of every organization, we have the most important decision makers. We call it the top management team. Usually, it's a CEO or a group of chief executive officers, CEOs, and they are responsible for leading the organization. Lower down, we have the director level, higher level management. These people are responsible for various areas of management. We have the head of the finance, we have the head, the director of marketing, sales, and so on and so on. And when you're at the director level, when you're talking to a director, you have to remember that he does not only manage himself and his team, but also lower level teams, and he's responsible for the whole department. Okay, moving lower down, we have middle managers, and these are called managers or team leaders, depending on the organization and what terminology they use in their company. And these people are responsible for two levels usually. They manage supervisors, and supervisors, first line managers, manage bottom line employees. So a supervisor would be responsible for only a part of a department, okay? And as you can see, the general areas of management are also explained in the book very well. Please read it very carefully. If you have any questions, post it on the forum. Okay, what does it take to be a manager? Well, you need specific skills. And you can get those skills. I believe that people are not born managers. People become managers through education and experience. And there's three groups of skills that I think are crucial. I think the book divides it, splits it up into more detail. But please remember at least these three broad groups of skills. Technical skills refer to the knowledge and experience in a special field. If you are in the business of making furniture, you should know something about making furniture. And if you run a hospital, you should definitely have extensive skills about the medical business and health. Similarly, if you are a principal of a school, you should know a lot about teaching and about the education system as a whole. So technical skills refer to your proficiency in the field that you are managing. These skills are absolutely essential at the bottom level because you are overseeing and overlooking the job of bottom line workers, very often working at the assembly field. So you need to be able to coordinate their work and make sure that their work gets done, also solving their problems. So knowing a lot about the business and about its market is very important. Now, conceptual skills. Conceptual skills are very connected to your intellectual capacity, your imagination and creativity, and also your ability to synthesize information that you're surrounded with. You get lots of information that lands on your desk. You need to be able to select the most important information, make sense out of it, connect it in order to set goals, develop a vision, and have a bigger picture of the organization and on all the interrelations taking place in your company. So I'm thinking if you're a manager, you can definitely get the help of other people to gain insight into the business. But conceptual skills is the capacity that cannot be gained anywhere else. This is something that comes with time, with your experience, your mistakes, and learning from those mistakes, and being in the business, knowing the industry, and developing and pursuing goals to see what works and what doesn't. Okay, conceptual skills are absolutely the heart of management, and these are most essential at the higher levels of that pyramid, because the people at the top set the goals and they make the strategies, they make the big decisions. So those skills gain importance as you move up the ladder and you get promoted and promoted and promoted. Finally, human skills. Management happens through people. There is no management if there are no people. Organizations are groups of people. So wherever you are in the pyramid, bottom level, upper level, you will be needing to work effectively with people. So human skills are absolutely key anywhere you are, whatever you do in management. You need to be able to communicate effectively, to motivate other people, inspire other people, to solve conflicts, to communicate with your public, with your customers, your business partners, and you need to be able to address also your employees. So human skills, important anywhere you are. Please remember. And finally, what do managers do? They come into work and they have piles of papers to work through, lots of emails to answer, and a lot of meetings to go to. They take on different roles in their job, and managerial roles are explained on page 18 of your textbook, so please read those. Peter F. Drucker, which is a great writer, very, very renowned and respected by all managers, I think. I don't think there's a manager who, effective manager, successful manager, who is not acquainted with Peter Drucker. And he analyzed what managers do. He was a consultant, and the effects of his many decades of work, he was able to put down into these points. The crucial activities of managers is to set objectives and communicate these objectives effectively to other people. Get people involved, inspire them, and unite them in cooperation so these objectives can be met. Organizing other people's activities, selecting the right people for the right jobs, grouping jobs, thinking about structures, is another thing. Influencing people through various tools, choosing through a whole plethora of tools we have today that refer to motivation and influence. That is what leadership comes down to. So that's number 3. Integrating and communicating to and from subordinates. If you're a manager, especially a middle-level manager, you're stuck in between, because you have your team, you have your subordinates, but you also have your superiors, and you have your peers, other heads of departments. So communication is the religion of management. Okay. Next point, evaluating performance, not only individual performance, but team performance and the performance of the whole company. So it's learning to speak the language of economic indicators. Okay, lots and lots of numbers to look at. So you need to be technology savvy, financial savvy, and you need to be able to understand the specific language. Okay, and finally, last but not least, what managers do is they develop people. They develop themselves. They need to be humble. They need to grow, look for new information, and develop their skills constantly, because there's new knowledge coming into the market, into the industry. There's new competitors popping up, and new products, and the technological progress is very, very speedy. Some people say that today we live in the era of hyper competition. So developing new skills is absolutely key. At the same time, managers need to develop other people. And that is very, very difficult. Okay? So that's the end of the first presentation. I hope you find the textbook interesting. Please make notes from your reading of chapter 1 and prepare your notes from the interview. Okay? And I will see you in class. We'll discuss all these issues again in Teams. See you soon.